Coastal California, with its mild climate and lively mix of cultures, is a fascinating place to come garden visiting. One of the fairly recent trends over here has been the rise of the plantsman's garden, the red-blooded passion for collecting plants and growing them well. Sonny Garcia and Tom Valva's garden is a truly tiny plot, but even from the sidewalk you can see their enthusiasm is uncontained. The garden's actually only 40 feet by 60 feet, but maximises its space brilliantly with a myriad design ideas. It's absolutely fantastic, Sonny. Have you any idea how many plants you've got?
We have around 2,000 plants.
And foliage is obviously one of the big things here.
Definitely.
Sort of...
It's what stands out, it's what catches your eye when you walk into the garden. Big bold leaves, colored leaves, variegated leaves, that's what we go for. It makes the garden colorful, especially in the summer when it's so foggy and dreary. It really brightens up the garden, especially gold foliage. They definitely stand out. A lot of the plants that we use are plants from Mexico, and they are the plants that comes from the cloud forest. And the reason being is we have very foggy summers, and the temperature or the climate in that particular time is very well suited for these plants. We don't get any rainfall in the summer. It's kind of a Mediterranean climate.
But it has a very sort of jungle feel to it. Is that deliberate?
Yes, it's very deliberate. It's an influence of me growing from the Philippines.
You have to squeeze between plants, don't
Definitely.
you? Duck under things.
That is right. I've been known as a shoehorn gardener.
So how do you sort of plan these borders? I mean, they're so intricate and mixed. I mean, how do you start? Do you start with one big bold plant?
We start with one big bold plant where you make the statement, then you surround them with smaller plants and add in the color, the texture. That's basically the theory that we use. About a third of the plants in this garden are in containers. In that way, we can easily move them around.
But how do flowers fit into this sort of jungle feel?
The flowers are just fairly incidental. Since we plant everything around foliage, it's nice to have the flowers, but they are kind of secondary to the foliage of the gardens. It wasn't planned, but before I knew it, I noticed all the flowers seemed to dangle down, and it's just incidental.
It's rather nice. They're the best sort of plants to look up into, aren't they?
That is right, yes. And that's the reason why there's so much verticality in the garden.
But they go up to from the huge trumpet to the datura, which is superb at the moment. And then lots of... You obviously got a passion for the fuchsias and butylons.
Butylons, that's right, and they're so great for the Bay Area. They bloom all year round, and they come in such a range of color.
Most dramatic of all, I think, is the fuchsia up at the top there.
Yes, Stephen, that fuchsia is called the fuchsia fanfare, and it's actually a climbing fuchsia. And we installed those red vases because it mimics the buds of the fuchsia.
Well, that's very clever indeed. That would be completely hardy up here, would it?
In San Francisco, yes.
You've used the height so clever. Did you build all these structures?
Yes, we did. One structure at a time. And this deck was actually built as a place to overview the garden. It's
so nice to be able to get to a garden at different levels, isn't it?
Yeah, no matter how small a garden is, you can really create different levels. And actually, one of our ideas to a garden is no matter how small it is, you should not be able to see it all at once. You should be able to walk around and discover different things.
But it's so true. I mean, the smaller the garden, the more important it is to go upwards, isn't it? And use the sky space.
That is right. The verticality will extend the garden.
The urban jungle strikes me as a great garden theme. Yeah, a lot of the planting here is exotic, but much of the underpinning is actually done with hardy plants. And if we substituted the likes of palms and begonia luxurians with phormiums, fatsias, bamboos, I think we could pull off a very similar feel. Is the plant-filled garden like this quite unusual in this area?
It is, in a sense. It's now becoming popular. This is the style of gardening that we do here in the Bay Area, and we kind of started the trend of packing in a lot of plants in a small space, and now everybody seems to be doing it. There's quite a big community around here in the Bay Area, and we do have an organization called Bay Area Hortisexuals, and they are all... Yes, they're all fanatic plant collectors.
It's amazing how gardening, or the passion for plants has grown in America, isn't it?
Definitely. It's the now #1 hobby in America, and everybody has a garden now. It really is a good way for relaxation.